Let me know when you guys can see the screen. Okay. So till now, so we have discussed on testing our models. We have been working on testing our models as well as testing of our sources, right? So yesterday we have seen how we can write, a SQL file, .SQL file, singular test for a particular model. Okay, and we have seen how can we write testing on sources as well, right? So we have seen we have tried to implement unique tests and ordinal tests on both of our sources, which is customers and orders. Okay. So today, let's dive into one more kind of topic, so which we will be very frequently using in our regular production projects. Okay. Okay. So as of now, we have created different kinds of sources and different kinds of models, and we did test both of them, models as well as sources. Okay. So let us take a look of the lineage, how it looks like. So are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So if you see here, so here's what.
Sir, how you arrived at this graph?
So you have this doc section here. If you go to this view docs, okay.
Okay.
So after building up our models, okay, so I did DBT docs generate thing. So after running the DBT docs generate command, so if you click this, so one more tab will be opened. Here you will be able to see all the information about your project, whatever is your current project. And if you click this lineage graph, you will be able to see this. Okay. Okay. So if you see here, if you see this lineage, so this is what we have built in now. So we have kind of three sources. And we have customers, source, orders, as well as payments. And on top of this sources, we have built three staging models. So these are the three staging models as of now. And we have final models like in the marks folder, that is fact orders and dim customers. And this is the other test, singular test, which we have created for particularly for this staging payments model. So you can see this singular model as well. I mean, singular test as well in the lineage. Okay. So till now, what we have been doing is, so we have been, first creating the models, writing the scripts, creating the views or tables in the new data warehouses. Okay. And we have been running those models individually. So whenever I want to run this dim customers model, I will be running this individually, or whenever I want to run this payments model, I've been running that model individually. Okay. The testing is also same case. Okay. So we have been testing the models, or we have been testing our models also individually. Okay. So whenever I write a singular test for this staging payments model, I have been testing this particular staging model using the select command, dbt test -- select staging payments. So this is how, so we have been particularly selecting each model, and we have been running that, and we have been testing that individually. Okay. So since this is development, so we can do all of them individually. We can develop things individually, or we can test things individually, right? But so whenever we do deploy this project into our production things, So there is no use of running these things individually, since this is the final whole project. Okay, this is kind of whole project from source to the final model, from raw data to the final transform data, right? So there is no use, or there is no implication that we can run these models individually, or we can test this model individually. So in production, usually in production, what we'll be doing is, so we will be developing some things, okay, in the development layer, and we will be pushing the whole project in one go to the production, and we will be scheduling those runs. Okay, we will not be running them manually. So see, if it is a daily load, so we will not be running them manually. So it would be an automated one. Okay, so the testing, the test cases, whether it is generic test or the singular test, whatever it is. So those the test cases should also run automatically along with our models. Okay. So we are not eyeing at just building our models blindly. Okay, we are eyeing at testing our models as well in production as and when they run. Okay. Are you getting my point? Is it clear? So we are talking about running and testing of our models in automated way in our production layer. Okay. So for this, so there is a new way of doing. Okay. So instead of running the commands DBT test and DBT run individually, so there is a new way called DBT build. Okay. So DBT build, what it does is, so in DBT build, we will be combining both the commands, DBT run as well as DBT test. So ideally, so you don't have to run those commands individually. So first you don't have to, usually first we have to run DBT run and then we do the DBT test, right? So with this command, you don't have to do them individually. So when you run this command, the DBT will take care of both of them. So it will run the project, it will run the model, and it will test the model as well. Okay. So first let's see now how we were developing in our IDE. So if you come here to the DBT, so we have been working on this development layer. Okay. So if you see we have developed all these kinds of different projects. Okay. So what happens when we do the DBT run is, so when we run the DBT run, so instead of selecting a particular model, if we just do the DBT run, if we just run the DBT run command, so it will kind of run all the models, right? So until and unless you select a particular model by using the select command, it will run all the models in your project. So whenever I do the DBT run, so first it will start with the staging models. Okay. So it will start running the customer staging. It will start running the staging orders and staging payments. And later on, once they are finished, so whatever the other models which are dependent on them, they will run. So here our dependent models are fact orders, which is dependent on staging orders and staging payments, right? So this will be running. So once this is also finished, our final model, dim customers, so will be running. So based on the fact orders model as well as the staging customers model. So this is what happens when we do the DBT run command. Okay. So once all our models are run, so our data warehouse will be loaded with the final data with the transform data. Okay. So let's say if we have materialized these staging models as views, and our final data, final models as tables, right? So in the same way, they would be created in the data warehouse, and the final transform data will be loaded into our final mart tables. Okay. Now, so we are done with the DBT. Now what we are going to do is we are going to do the DBT test. So test, what it will do, it will test each source and each model. Okay. Test will start with the sources. Okay. Since we have written test scripts for sources as well, right? So it will start with the sources. First, it will check the 3 sources, whether our given logic is working fine or not. So it will check the sources. Once the test is successful on the sources, it will come to the staging models and it will test all three staging models, and then it will come to the MART models, so fact orders and dim customers. Okay, so then, okay, once everything is done, so it will give us a success message. Okay, now let's take a case of what if a test fails in the early model. Okay, so might be in the, so it might be at the source level or it might be at the staging level. Okay, so let's say if a test is failing at a staging level. So what happens in this case if you are running them individually? So first, before running the test, we had already run the DBT run model, DBT run command, right? So what happens then? So even if the test fails, the final data, I mean, the failure data is already loaded into our final data marts. Okay. So let's say if it is an issue of some primary key issue. Okay. So which is having a very big effect. So it can cause the numbers to be very different than than it is required, right? So if it is a primary key issue, you can see the duplicate numbers or you can see duplicate customers. Okay, so or the decision taking might differ. So this is causing a big problem. So when we run these two commands differently, DBT test and DBT run. Okay. Are you guys getting my point? So I'm just giving a bit theory of this. Are we good here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, so whenever we are running these commands, separately, so the testing is done after the running of the command, run command, right? So if the test, even if the test is failed, the data is already loaded into our final models. Okay. Let's say if the test is failed at the staging models, but the data have already gone to the fact orders table, and the data have already gone to the dim customers model as well. Okay. That means the final models are having a failure data. Okay. Right. So just to avoid this problem, so we have this command called DBT. Okay. So DBT build is also runs the project in the DAG order. So in whatever the order this DAG is, so in the same order, DBT build also will kind of do the running and testing of those models. Okay. So it's like, combining both of them, DBT run as well as DBT test. Okay. So whenever you run the DBT build command, so first what it is going to use, so it will directly start with the test, because tests are also having sources are also having some test scripts, right? So it will
that
start.
means if the test fails, you are saying it will not go to the next step.
Yes.
Okay.
So because here DBT build will be running both the commands at a time on one model. Okay. So usually in different, if we are running the DBT run and DBT test command separately, so DBT run will finish every model, building every model. Okay. And after that, DBT test will come into place and it will test every model. Even if the test is failing, it doesn't matter for that. Okay. So it will keep on testing and our final model will have a wrong data or a failure data. Okay. So now the DBT build, what DBT build command will do is, so it will kind of start with the sources. It will just first test the sources. Once the testing of the sources is successful, it will kind of run these commands first. That means it will build the views for that. It will fetch the data for these views. Okay. Once these staging models are built, so it will not directly go to the fact orders. It will test these models as well, whatever the models that it has built. Okay. So once these models are built, so once the staging orders model is built, it will test that model. Once the staging payments model is built, it will test that model. Once the staging customers model is built, it will test that customers. Okay. Only when the testing is finished, it will move to the dependent model. It will go to the fact orders or else the dim customers. Okay. Is this clear? So if let's say if the staging payments model has some wrong data or some duplicates data, so the testing will fail here. Okay. So what the DBT build command will do is, so it will halt the process. It will halt the process to further developing the dependent models. Okay. So usually when you run the DBT run, so it is not the case whether it is failure or success. It will keep on building the models and it will keep on testing the models. Okay. So this is the use of DBT build command. Okay. So DBT build, so it will continuously do the building of the models as well as the testing of the models at a time. So whenever an intermediate model has a failure data, so it will just stop the process there and it will not build the further models. Okay. So let's see how it will be done. So here what I'm trying to do is, so this is our final dim customers model, which is referring to the staging customers model. Okay. And here we are referring to the fact orders model as well. And again, this fact orders model is dependent on staging orders as well as staging payments. Okay. And these staging orders, staging payments tables are dependent on the sources, right? So when I run the dim customers model and its upstream models, so everything, so whatever the models we see here, everything will be run. Okay. So if I try to run the dim customers and its upstream models. Okay. So for dim customers, these are all the upstream models. Okay. So whatever the models that will come after the dim customers, those are called downstream to the dim customers. Okay. So now, so these are the whatever we are seeing here, so are all these upstream for the dim customers model. Okay. Is this clear? Yeah. Let's look at a demo of this command. Okay. So what you can do is you can just write DBT build. Yeah, you can write the DBT build and just run that. Okay. I mean, in DBT build also you can try to run a particular model, like how we were doing with the select command, select and dim customers. So you can do a select statement of this. Okay, what it will do is it will just run this dim customers model and it will test the particular dim customers model. Okay. So if you want to run any downstream upstream models, you have to add a place symbol before or after the model name. Okay. Let's say if I add this place symbol here, DBT build -- select plus dim customers, what it is going to do is, so it is going to run the dim customers model as well as its upstream models as well. Okay. Is this clear? So instead of writing this command, so there is a UI way of doing this. So if you see this build command here, so you can see a drop down list. So if you click on that, so you will see multiple options. You can see the build model. You can see build model plus downstream, build model plus upstream. In this build model, both upstream and downstream. So you'll be having different options. If you want to just run the model, you can do that. If you want to just, instead of testing, you just want to run the model, you can do that. So the same options, running only downstream, running only upstream, or running both downstream and upstream. For testing model, you just want to test this particular model, you just want to test all the downstream models, or you just want to test all the upstream models, or you just want to run both the upstream and downstream models. You'll be having different options here. Okay. So you will be having options to build, you'll have an options to just run, or you'll have the option to just test. Okay. So you'll be having multiple options here. So since we just want to build this, we just don't want to go with a single command run or test. We'll just go with build, which will do both of them, running as well as testing. And what I want to do is, so now I want to run this particular dim customers model as well as its upstream modules. Okay. So if I can select this build plus model upstream. If I do this, my command will be automatically written and sent to DBT. Okay. So if you see here, so this is the command which will be selected by the UI option. DBT build select plus dim customers model. So if you see all our sources and along with the testings, everything is running here. Okay. So if you see, it has run the stage payments thing and it has run whatever. Yes, it is the staging payments model. And before running the staging customers and staging orders, it has run the testing things for that. Okay. See, right? Source, not null, Jaffle shop, customer ID. So these are the testing generic tests which we have given in the source YAML file. So once those tests are done, it is building the stage customers model, and is for the payments model also we have given some similar testing. So this is with that one. And for the staging models also we have given some testing scripts. Also all these have run. Okay. So while running itself, it will keep on building the models as well. Okay. While testing, so it will just run the model and it will test that. Okay. So this is how it is happening. It is happening. So if you see, finally we have got our dim customers model as we wanted. Okay. Is this clear about the DBT build?
Sir, you have given plus dim customers. Then what is
Yes.
that?
So that's what. If you're not giving this plus symbol, so it will be just dim customers, right? So it will just look like this. So now what DBT will do is it will just run this particular dim customers model. Okay. It will just build this dim customers model. It is not going to build the upstream models. So we have these upstream models, right? So like I said, these are all the upstream models to the dim customers, right?
Yeah.
Dim customers is dependent on all these sources, all these
Streams, yeah.
intermediate models. Okay. These are all upstream to the dim customers model. Okay. So when I do the plus symbol here, so it will kind of build all those models, and as well as it will test all those models before building the dim customers model. Okay. If I don't give the plus, what it will do is it will just
only run dim customers.
Only run the dim customers model and only test the dim customers model. It will not so our upstream models are all already built, right?
Yes, yes.
So these models will not be rebuilt again. So whatever those existing things, so they will be used. That's it. So they will not be built again.
But we can run individual models also.
Yeah, you can run individual models as well.
Okay.
So if you give the plus symbol after that, so the downstream models will be built. Okay. So downstream models as in, so if there are any models after the dim customers, so those will be built and run. Okay. So that is what you can see the different options here. Okay. The first one is build model, means it will just run and test this particular model. So build model downstream. Downstream as in whatever the models that are dependent on dim customers along with the dim customers will be run and tested. So the next will be, so this is what we have selected. Upstream. Upstream as in, so the models, dim customers, and on which models the dim customer is dependent on, everything will be run and up to the dim customers model. Okay. Is this clear about the build command? So now let's see. So if you see the DBT build command here, so everything is success. So we have been running and testing all these models, right? So if we do the DBT build also, so there won't be any difference because everything is perfectly placed and there are no errors, right? So that's why it has come all the way to the dim customers. Now let's try to execute a failure case here. So failure case as an, so we have to purposely give a bug in our project just to make it a fail case. Okay. Now what we have to do is, so maybe in the payments, source dot Jeffrey show. Okay. So here we have this orders table, right? For this orders table, so we have given two tests for the ID column, which is unique and not. Okay. So these tests got passed, right? So now what we are going to do is, so we are going to give another test to another column. So right now what I'm going to do is, so to the status column, so there is a column called status, right? Stage orders. Okay. So you have this stage orders column, right, coming from the orders table. Okay. So to this, so I'm going to add another test, which is the unique test. So I have added unique test to the status column as well. Now what it will do is, while running and testing these models, it will kind of check for the unique and not null things for the ID column, as well as it will check for the uniqueness of the status ID as well. So if we see this orders table, so if we see the status column in orders table, so the values inside that are not unique. Okay, they are duplicated because that is status. So we have some 5 common things. Only in those five common things, so one of the value will be the status of this order. Okay, so here this status column cannot be unique, but we have given the test as unique just to make it fail. Okay, let's just save it. Okay, and just, so if you want to do the same command, yeah, so if you come here, you have this rerun thing. Okay, you can just click on rerun and it will rerun the same command again. So what it does is, it has given us as DBT build feed. So if you see here, it is checking the uniqueness of the status column in the orders table. Okay, so if you see, it has failed here. Okay, so once it is failure, so the models which are dependent on that particular thing did not run or did not test. Okay, so the models which are dependent on the orders table is staging orders, right? On the staging orders, the fact orders is dependent, and on the fact orders, the dim customers is dependent. So these 3 models did not get built. See, staging orders is not built, and the fact orders is not built, and the staging dim customers is not also built. Okay, but if you see, staging customers is built because the staging customers is not dependent on the orders table, right? And the staging payments is also built because staging payments is also not dependent on the orders table. The only things dependent on the orders table are staging orders, fact orders, and dim customers, right? That's why only these 3 things are not built. The rest of the other things are built and they are successful. Okay, is this clear? Okay, so this is how, so we can make use of the DBT build command. So whenever a project is deployed into the production, so we can make use of this DBT build command to make sure every day we are getting correct data, or we are not getting any dirty data. So we can make use of, we can write some different testing scripts, or we can make use of these generic scripts. So whenever a project is scheduled and it is running, so as and when it is running, so we can just make sure the testing is also happening and we are not getting the failure data into our final models. Okay. So this is how DBT build works. Is this clear? Okay. Okay. So okay. So in tomorrow's class, okay, we will be starting with the documentation, like how to document. So because I mean DBT is also more focused on the documentation part. Okay. So that's not a big deal. So maybe it is just describing. So as and when you're writing or developing your script in your staging models, or else in your sources, as and when you're developing, you can just write an additional line, so that which describes your project. So that will be treated as a documentation in the DBT. Okay. In the next class, we will be dealing with the documentation part, and so after that we will be moving to the deployment part. So how can we deploy our projects into and how can we schedule them into the production? Okay. We will be seeing them in the next classes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah. Bye. Have a good day.